In my notes here, I think you mentioned BBW, poly parties, sex parties. How many of these parties would you say you went to? Just a couple or like regularly? This was over the span of 6 months. When I was in the thick of it, they had basically parties every other weekend.
Okay, and you would go pretty much every other?
For about at least 4 months I did.
4 months.
I mean, I didn't always do something at the party.
But you'd go.
But it would depend, like, on if I had invited people I already knew there, or if I met someone, whatever happened.
At these parties, do people typically just like, will they hook up? Maybe they don't hook up at all, but if they do hook up, is it with just one person, or will they like sleep with like multiple people? Like, for example, did you ever hook up with like 2 dudes in the night or 3 dudes in the night?
Yeah.
More?
Yeah.
More?
There's a specific high number for the most I did in one night, but
let's hear it. You got it.
I haven't talked about this stuff in such a long time.
You got it.
Because I just want to, before I go into this topic, sure. I do want to say this isn't who I currently am.
Totally fine.
I'm talking about a past version of myself that
totally fine.
Would not make these decisions now, but at one night, 10.
Was that like an intentional goal? Like you went in?
No, it actually was kind of accidental. I just I was very laissez-faire about life at the time, and it was something where I had been like, I felt very repressed, and like my first real relationship lasted 8 years. I had one before that, but it only lasted 5 months. And so at the time, I'm sorry, it would have been about 6, but 6 years.
This was after your 8-year relationship ended, or?
In the middle. So we broke up for 9 months.
Oh.
And then when we got back together and we broke up officially, that was like in 2021.
Okay.
How does that happen? Like, honestly, how does that, you just like, I'm depressed, I'm gonna go get involved in a gangbang?
Was I self-actualized in the moment about that? Not really. It was just more like, very repressed childhood. I never really let myself go crazy, and I basically let myself like have my wild fun free, because I was in an environment where I kind of felt like I was not only supported but like really wanted, desired, which I had experienced, obviously, because I've been in a relationship, but not in like that type of casual way. And so I got invited into it by someone, and I didn't know what I was getting into. It's kind of the bottom line. It felt good though to have that acceptance. It did, and like, so you come back for it. I met people who like I'm still friends with. Like I met people who
are they still in that scene?
Most of them have walked away, because once you're in it for a little bit, you do like start to really not only see the toxicity around you, but within yourself. And it took me going through a couple other things post this experience that made me realize that like I was chasing like a high, like I was using sex in ways that weren't healthy, and like it made me self-reflect. It made me change.
If you could go back now, would you just do the same thing?
I've thought about that question a lot. Now, honestly, I think I would, because I am the kind of person that likes to live my life with no regrets, and I believe that everything I've been through, everything I've done, and every decision I've made has led me to who I am at my heart as of today. And while I wish I could have done things better and I could have had better results in certain aspects of my life, I love myself and I love who I am, and I
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Brian. Just
and I love how I can turn.
But is it a regret?
And again, that's one of those things where it's a yes, and it's like I don't want to have.
I understand the mindset of
I
want to live as though nothing is
in
a
a less
regret.
reckless way. Let's say that. I wish I could have learned certain lessons in a less reckless way, because I feel like I was reckless. I was recklessly dating. I was recklessly like living. I was at that point in my life, in that situation. That's not how everybody was in those scenes, but that's how I was.
So would you said you would do it again?
I'm the kind of person where like I wouldn't want to go back and change anything about my life, because I want to be who I am.
Well, that's kind of entailed in you would do it again.
You said you would do it again.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, because you said you're not that person anymore.
Yeah.
So where's the nuance in that?
She's not saying that she would do it now. She's saying the person that she has become today, and the reason why she might not choose to do it anymore is because she already had that experience and she decided it's not something she moves forward with.
And I learned life lessons from it. And that is, I've lived my life being the kind of person that has to learn from my own mistakes and learn from doing things. And I struggle, I feel like, for things to fully click or land until I've experienced them for myself.
Do you think it's a healthy process, though, so I understand the mindset of saying live without regret, right? You can't dwell on regrets. That's true, right? Eventually people have to move forward from things that they've done, this and that. But is it also, though, still healthy to have things that you regret? Isn't that how you progress?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, because, like, I mean, do I regret the recklessness? Yes. But, yeah, I don't like to dwell on them, and I try to live on the thing of, like, I don't want to hold shame within regret.
Yeah,
Maybe
I feel
that's
like
what
the
I'm trying to say.
connotation of regret is so negative. Like, why can't it be something like a lesson learned? Like, for instance, I hear what you're saying, and there's definitely things where I'm like, dang, like, that probably wasn't the best choice. Or if it presented itself right now, I would definitely choose different. But acknowledging that what had happened in the past made me who I am today, made me as strong as I am today, or made me as soft, or whatever the positives were, that had to happen to be who I am today. So I can, probably instead of regret, maybe just respect.
Well, I
respect that it happened.
So this might be like a difference in worldview too, but I think that regrets are necessary for us to move forward in life. And here's what I mean by this.
Okay.
I mean that you should look on some of the things you've done in life in a negative way for yourself and negatively view yourself for having done those things, and that's the only way to reconcile them, to move on from them.
Yeah, we definitely disagree in that. But I also, I was raised really, really religious, and I know that that's part of the religious standpoint is that sins and
well, it's actually kind of, but there is absolution. Right, but absolution comes with the confrontation that the thing you did was wrong, and it should never be repeated, and it was wrong. That's where absolution
for sure.
comes,
But acknowledging something is wrong and regret are not necessarily the same things.
And
how do you know it's wrong if you don't regret it?
You can look at the outcome of it. You can look at the intention of what your action was. I'm a type of person who believes in positive, negative, and so I'll look at more of the intention of it. And the lesson learned is still going to happen, but I don't need to look at it necessarily as a negative to make it be something that I learned.
But that feels like it's just a way to avoid responsibility.
You say avoid, but I still learn from that.
Yeah, but it's still by saying like there's no real. This is negative, but I don't regret it. This is negative, but it wasn't bad. This is negative.
No one said it wasn't bad. Those are not.
Bad's a moral claim. So that's why we said the word bad. So I'll try to use a different word.
Yeah.
Okay. But what you're saying is, I don't regret this thing. There was a negative outcome, and so I'll avoid it in the future, but there's no regret.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that would, from my perspective, stymie the growth. So the way that you grow as a person is to actually focus on the things that you have done which are incorrect.
They could be better.
Otherwise, you can't actually repent for those things in order to move forward in your life.
But there's something to be said about the fact that we're still humans and this is the human experience. We're growing and we're learning.
Yeah,
so there's
I
going to
agree.
be so there's going to be an amount of you're going to make a mistake.
Yep.
For me personally, if I harbor regret, I'm living in the past. I'm living in the present, and me living in the past gives me anxiety. It doesn't allow me to flourish.
Well, that's the point.
So I think what has to happen is you have to come to the position where I regret that decision. I'm doing that I'm just doing that battle within myself, like sussing out what was good about the situation, what was bad, but then after you do all of that work, then you can move on. But when someone asks you about that point in your life where you made that regretful decision, you can discuss with them, this is what I sussed out, this is how I worked through it, and this is how it has led me to where I am right now.
For me, when I think about the word regret, I think about something. But when I think about the word regret, I think about something where I wish this didn't happen.
That's what I was trying to say.
And the problem is that when I say I wish this didn't happen, I don't acknowledge of what I learned from it.
Yeah, but if you no, it's not I wish this didn't happen. It's an acknowledgement.
That's what regret would be.
I did this, and it was.
Yeah, me too. That's my understanding of regret.
I
so we
did
just maybe
this,
have
and it was wrong, and that's why I regret it.
Well, I also don't believe in wrong. I believe in positive and negative.
And that's what I said, right? So for me, from my perspective, it looks like a way to avoid responsibility by saying I didn't do anything wrong.
No, absolutely not. I think that.
But then what you just said, you only believe in positive.
It wasn't
and
about
negative,
doing
right?
something wrong, right? It's like, okay, so let's say, for instance, something I called a regret in my past was I had this big crush on this guy when I was in Mexico on a vacation, and we were underneath the waterfall, and I could have kissed him, and I didn't. And I look back and like, I regret that I didn't just make that move. I was scared. I regret. And what I took from that is, okay, when I have a moment that I want to do better, I will make that jump. I will not be scared, and I will have the confidence to do it. And I told myself I don't ever want to have regret again because it doesn't feel good to have that sort of thing. And so I would look at it instead as like, okay, that was a moment that I wasn't at this level. I had to learn to become this level, and now I am who I am today.
Yeah, so I think if we're talking, like, if you're talking about a level of regret, it could be scalable. So there could be things there could be things that I regret, like maybe I die and say I regret not climbing Mount Everest, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the things that stick in our brain for the things that we regret the most generally coexist with things that we knew we were doing in the time, which was wrong. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And those tend to be the things that we actually dwell on. And that's
I don't
again
have any of those in my mind. Like when I'm trying to think back, like
because you only believe in positive and negatives.
Yeah.
So that's
like
why.
when I think about something like
But that's why I see it as a
could have done something
shifting.
better. I shouldn't have said this or done this. I think, okay, well, you were in a place where clearly you didn't know or you didn't make that assessment. Now you do know. All you can do forward now is make it better. Now, if you don't make it better, then you're not choosing to be living in your most positive aspect, and that will be something we won't necessarily agree on there. But I want to live at my highest vibrational level, which means that I'm going to be positive to people. The energy that I put out, I'm going to expect to receive, which means that genuinely I'm going to not try to do bad things onto others because I know that's going to come back to me tenfold.
Same.
I need to move on just so I can get through my notes here. But let's see. I do want to come back really quick to the whole BBW poly party, sex party thing.
Of course you do.
So tell us, there's a bunch.
I mean, I'm not really one to get super salacious on the internet about specifics.
Shoot.
But
He wants an invite, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what's going on.
Yeah,
I did.
He definitely seems to be the type into BBWs.
RSVP.
Just this is the sex party part.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they have them for all types of people.
I would actually never go to a sex party.
Never's the long
No matter how attractive the women were, that's
What if it was
degenerate.
like a party just for you, just all Asian petite women with no
just for me? I mean, I could get behind that one.
Well,
I
at that point, that's
suppose,
just an orgy.
I can get behind that, but like if it's like swingers and like, no.
You don't want anybody to watch you.
No, I get all the women to myself. Yeah, I'll take that. Never going to happen, but I'll gladly take it. Okay, so you went to a bunch of these parties over the course of a couple months. Now, when you said you did 10 in a night, would it be like, was it group sex or would it be like one after the other and it was like individual sex? Okay. Good times. Good times.
In a very like vapid physical way, yeah.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Well, the original question was the roster thing. So we're going around the table. Do you have or have you ever, do you currently have or have you ever had a roster?
No, I'm like disgustingly monoamorous. I get like tunnel vision on the first date and I'll like delete dating apps if I like someone.
Okay.
So annoying. I am similar and I'm trying.
What do you mean? How's it annoying?
Knowing that I do that as well. Like I hyper focus. Like I'll tunnel vision someone, which I've actually had to get out of doing because dating.
Just go ahead.
Oh, sorry. They just say you shouldn't do that, so I've been trying not to.
Roster.
I tend not to have a roster. No.
Okay. What about you?
No.
Please speak into the mic if you can.
Nope.
And the guys don't need to answer. Whatever.
Of course.
So is that across the board? Yes. Is that what that is?
Well, and I will say, I definitely don't feel like my like future / current goals are not roster based. Like,
sure.
In fact, the people that I've had like situationally, they've fizzled out because I've kind of I'm just not interested in that anymore. I'm looking for like a completely different dating experience. That's just like where I was once at.
Okay, got it. And let me get into some of my notes here finally. So let's see. Okay. You said you had some insane stories to tell us, Rosie. Is this related to the BBW sex swinger groups? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like with the group sex and stuff, like.
Nick, could you close that door?
But
The rest of the world doesn't need to hear this.
More or less. I mean, it seems like the audience here is pretty not interested in hearing about those types of things.
They might be.
No, this audience.
They might be.
I'm
They're
saying
going
the
to
people
be.
out there because the
The
door
people that
was
click
open.
on this are gonna wanna
like,
hear
close
it.
the door.
No, it's just getting cold. That's why.
It's cold.
The young children outside.
Yeah, the young children outside don't need to
Yes.
hear this. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I just think that I'm trying to think because I probably should have thought this more thoroughly because I was thinking about, like, I mentioned some of those different dating experiences, but, like, I mean, I met people who during that time, the closest thing I had to a relationship, because I was, like, extremely emotionally unavailable, was someone that I met through what they called, like, the vanilla parties, which were, like, the non-sex parties. And he ended up, like, going to them and stuff, and we would hook up probably, like, a few times a week, I'd say. And, like, once he and I became more of a thing, I, like, back down to the parties, and then some stuff started coming up, and I started really understanding, like, the dynamics of the parties and, like, how kind of predatory and weird they were set up. And I started waking up to, like, basically realizing what I was doing, because at the time I was living my life on autopilot, and I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, like, nothing matters type attitude towards everything. So once I started, like, thinking things through, and then I was, like, slowly backing out of the parties, and then something like major, like, personally in my life happened that had me completely back out of it.
Okay.